Welcome, topic 5.6, pest control. We have a lot of delicious crops in California, strawberries, tomatoes, lettuce, but what's delicious to us is also delicious to a lot of pests. Right here, these are white flies, and you can get some nasty white fly infestations in the plants around your house. You see a bunch of thick white gunk with kind of strings on them. Those are probably white flies. I've lost some plants in my yard to those. And we got caterpillars, different kinds of worms. And one of the most popular is right here. This is the aphid. And the cool thing about these are all clones. Aphids just basically pop out new aphids constantly. Boom, 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 boom. They do not sexually reproduce. They produce asexually, popping out new things. New ones constantly. Here's, I thought it was a fun chart I want to talk about. We're talking about crops in California. The number one crop, almonds, and then grapes, strawberries, and just read on down the list. Looks like tangerines are still pretty popular, not full-on oranges, but tangerines. And in total, this last year, I believe it was about $62 billion. About $62 billion is what our agricultural industry was worth. So a lot of money in growing crops for sale here and abroad. Here's another. Worms is a pretty large category. Here are some different types of worms, all not so good. So this is a problem humans have always had, right? You heard the plagues of locusts from stories of the past. Almost half of the crops around the world are lost due to pests, 40% according to United Nations. So it's a problem, and we're going to talk about ways we've been dealing with it. Some of them are not so good for the environment, chemicals and such. But us humans, we need crops, we need stuff to eat, food to eat. So it's either us or the insects. We usually will choose us. Now, we've been fighting this battle a long time. As you can see here, back to ancient Egyptian times, they faced predators. And what's interesting, part of it is also due to the fact that Egyptians like to mummify certain people. So they had to know how to fight back against insects, eating their mummies and other things. So things they used to do back in Egypt to protect their crops, they used to just go out and hand pick the insects off, which, as you can imagine, could be less efficient, but better than nothing. Using natural predators. Wow, that is not going to happen. So every animal on Earth has a predator that will go after it. So, and that we do that now. We try to if we have an insect we don't like, we try to find another insect that will eat that insect, an insect that maybe not as damaging to us. Also, burning fields is a way to do it. You have a bunch of infection, a bunch of insects that are infecting your field. Just burn the whole thing down, and hopefully it won't spread to your less infected fields. So that can be effective. So burning fields. Other thing, salt, vinegar, good old salt and vinegar for killing things. Garlic has been used, and crushed olives. Basically, after making olive oil, all the husks or the fruit part of the olives left behind, and they'll use that. They'll spread that around, and it'll help to kill off some pests. So crushed olives. And the name America is what they used to call it. So we've been at this a long time, dealing with pests. It's not, anything new. This is how we deal. It's gone a long way, right? Now we spray pesticides, herbicides, fungicides from plains or fields, and we have lots of different ways of applying them. So let's just go over some basic types. There's chemical pesticides, and those would be a lot of neonicotinoids, and other things. Neonicotinoids, one of the most common, and you may have heard of that. The issue with the honeybee colony collapse we're worried about, a lot of that is thought to be related to pesticides use, in particular neonicotinoids. So these are all the chemical pesticides they'll spray onto crops. Then you have biological. So, predator insects, what I just mentioned. Kind of a natural way. Finding the enemy of your enemy. That's what it is. The enemy of your enemy. And hopefully that second enemy is not as bad as the first enemy. This is cultural. So what that means, things like crop rotation. It's harder for the insects to infest if you're switching the crops around. Time of planting, you time it so it kind of confuses the insects. So also harvesting, you can do that. Over here, this would be physical, mechanical. Sorry, that's handwriting. And let me draw that, write that over here. The things like trapping, kind of what the Egyptians did, picking them off, trapping, using nets. I've seen that. Also, things like mulching, spreading mulch around the base, chopped up wood products to dissuade plants or pests from laying their eggs and having those eggs go up and then eat your crop. And this is IPM, stands for, I'll write down here, Integrated Pest Management. And that uses all of these methods. Integrated. We'll be coming back to that in a later topic. Integrated pest management, which was using all the tools at your disposal, whichever works best, most effective, gives you that good cost-benefit ratio. It's sustainable, yet you still get those yields. That's what it's all about. And this, just to set up, this is the learning statement from AP. Consequence, pest control methods, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. Yeah, make sure you familiar with these terms. Rodenticides. Always pushing back against these rodents. Insecticides. They can become resistant. I mentioned that before, through artificial selection. Because we are changing the environment. Okay, it's not happening naturally. We are changing the environment. We're throwing those differences out there and they are responding to them. So what pest control aims to do is to decrease crop damage. Decrease the crop damage and increase the crop yields. Okay, more food, less damage, and we want to try to be as kind as possible to the environment. So here is another diagram. We see here's a little population of insects, pests. You apply the pesticide. Some resistant individuals survive. They have the gene for resistance that just by chance. Remember, because of sexual reproduction, you got a lot of genes mixed up in all of our populations. Now, aphids are a little different because they go asexual, but they can reproduce. There can still be changes even with them. They can mutate and pass on some of those resistant genes. So you have all these you have these resistant insects that then survive, so they reproduce, and they reproduce resistant insects, of course, because they're going to pass on those genes. You apply the pesticide again, and you end up getting a larger population of resistant insects. Larger population of resistance. So you end up having to apply more pesticides over time, and it works, but you just have to balance that. And then of course more of those pesticides can then run off into to streams and rivers. So you can also do some more, this is kind of a way of getting around doing pesticides, is genetically engineer the pesticide into the plant. So genetically engineered to increase their resistance. So genetically engineered to increase their resistance. However, they will lose genetic diversity in a particular crop, and you still have the problem of resistance. Over time, the bugs, the pesticides are going to become resistant to this system as well. Still will create resistance. Pests. You'll still have to deal with that problem, but it's pretty cool. You basically take out a gene. This is from a bacteria that will kill. This gene kills pests, kills, say insects. So if they get the protein that this gene creates, they will die. So you stick it in sort of a vector, and then you put that into the plant cell. The plant grows. The plant creates this pesticide. Plant creates. And this idea came about because some plants are just naturally more resistant than others. They have their own pesticide chemicals that are resistant, makes them resistant to getting eaten. So scientists, we thought, hey, let's just speed up the process and give these resistant genes into plants. But you can see there is a trade-off right there. And here is another picture of this BT corn, how it works kind of with the cartoon. Pest dies when feeding on any part of the plant. Doesn't do so well. But we know some of those pests, some pests have the resistant gene that they will then pass on to their offspring. Some pests have resistance. They pass on that resistance to their offspring. Now, just bringing back California case study. Use some delicious strawberries. The major issues we have here: mites, aphids, and fungus. So our farmers in California will apply just enough of these pesticides to kill those mites, aphids, and fungus. And they also use predatory mites to eat the bad mites. So predatory mites eat our, I'll say quote unquote, bad mites. So we got the good mites eating the bad mites. Okay, the ones that cause the destruction to our plants. Okay, so they mix using those predatory mites to using some sort of insecticide. Try to be selective with insecticides. The problem is there are very few truly selective insecticides. This is one of the major insecticide categories I mentioned before: neonicotinoids. And I want you to think of the word nicotine, the root of that word, nicotine. And you probably heard of nicotine. That's the main ingredient in cigarettes that provide the addictive quality. It messes with our basically nervous system. So the neonicotinoid you can see here blocks this receptor for acetylcholine, and this is an important neurotransmitter. And as you can assume, you mess up with your nervous system, you can kill an organism. So basically enough neonicotinoid interferes with this action that blocks the normal neurotransmitter. It's called acetylcholine. Blocks acetylcholine from binding, and that blocks the nerve signal, and the insect just dies. Now this will kill us too, but humans, for some reason, we like to get a little bit of nicotine in our body. This makes us feel good, and that's what all tobacco products have, and vaping products. And these are examples of some pesticides. Once you write a couple of these down: acetaminoprid, clothianidin, imidacloprid. So these are all types of insecticides that are in this category of neonicotinoids. So California farmers will use an assortment of these neonicotinoids, but we'll try not to use too many because of the issue with the pollinators, bees. These should be added. So the targeted insects, mosquitoes, those look like fruit flies or something, and mites, non-target species, all of these things at the bottom, a lot of aquatic species. These are Daphnia and others. So just overall, we will get a deeper dive into integrated pest management, but that's just kind of put everything together. So you got to balance productivity versus sustainability. Because we got to get the crops. We need to have the food. But if we kill too many things, all the honeybees, especially our pollinators, then we can't pollinate the crops. So it's a big problem. So it's really just about a balance of these things. There's no perfect solution, but there's ways for us to use our tools smarter. Like, we can always get better, and that's what we're trying to do. I had a teacher in middle school almost killed himself, almost died from dropping a bag of nicotine pesticide back in the 50s when he was a little kid. They had no real laws back then. But they used to get straight nicotine and put it on crops, which is even worse than this stuff. And he dropped it, he breathed in a bunch of that powder and almost died. So we don't have that issue now, but we can still get better with the way we use our pesticides.